Hello, welcome to Flow With It Yoga. My name is Tracy, and today we're going to spend about 20 minutes opening the front side of our hips. Our hips get really tense in the front and tighten up from things such as sitting for a long period of time, hiking, running, walking, or if you're a CrossFitter like myself, doing things like wall balls, box jumps, squats, and there's lots of other things too. So we're going to really working on just the front side of the hips today, mostly on the front side of the hips today. So go ahead and start by lying down. Slowly roll down onto the back of your mat. Straighten the legs out. Go ahead and close your eyes. I want to start with some breathing. So go ahead and tuck your shoulder blades underneath you a little bit. That gives your heart and your lungs a little bit more space to open. And so think about inhaling, filling the lungs, exhaling, letting it all out. So really lengthening the breath longer than you're used to. Maybe count for 6 in and for 6 out. One more of that long, filling breath. And then just going back to your regular breathing, in and out through the nose. This helps to warm the inside of the body, which is important when we're going into these deeper stretches. So take your right leg, go ahead and open your eyes, take your right knee, bring it up to your chest, take your hands and pretend like you're going to press your leg away, but don't let it move. And now release that leg down. Draw the other leg up. Knee is perpendicular to the floor. And press away, but don't let that knee fall down. That's firing up the iliopsoas muscle, which is the main muscle that we use to extend our hips. And now drawing your knees in toward your tailbones, lining the heels up with the hip bones. Hands are by the side. And we're going to just gently let our knees fall to the right and to the left, as if they're windshield wipers. They don't have to make it all the way to the mat. We're just opening up the spine a little bit, creating a little bit movement in the hips on the outside. And now go ahead and look in the opposite direction of the knees. It's just adding a little bit more twist. And pull the belly in. That's going to protect the lower spine. One more time in each direction. And now bringing your legs back to center. Firmly placing the palms near your hips and drawing the heels in a little bit more toward those tailbones and making sure that everything's lined up. So go ahead and look down. Make sure your knees aren't collapsing in or out and that they're not too far apart, but they're perfectly lined up. Now we're going to move into bridge. We're going to flow through our bridge, then we're going to hold it. So pressing your feet into the mat, slowly peeling the back off the mat, one vertebra at a time, coming up as high as you can, squeezing it all together, and then slowly lowering it back down. So inhaling to rise up. Imagine you're pressing the mat away from you as you rise up. And then lowering down. Doing that 2 more times. Breath in to rise. Breath out to lower. 1 more time. Inhaling. then exhaling. And this time we're going to hold our bridge for a minute. So go ahead, press the feet firmly into the mat. Really squeeze. Imagine that you've got a ball in between your legs and you're not going to let that ball fall down to the mat. We're going to count for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and lower it down, drawing both knees into the chest, and then rocking side to side, just massaging out that lower back a little bit. And now allowing your knees to come to the mat, and very gently pressing yourself up to seated position, and then moving on to all fours. So spreading your fingers wide, placing your wrists directly under your shoulders, placing your knees directly under your hips. We're going to move through a few cat and cow. So moving into a cow, pulling the belly in, arching the back, tail and chin rise. Exhaling, rounding the back, pressing the belly button toward the ceiling, dropping the head. So keeping a little micro bend in your elbows and moving through this a few times. Cow, and then cat. So we're continuing to warm up the spine through extension and flexion. And breathing, inhaling to come up, exhaling to come down and around. One more time. And then lowering back down. Then coming to a neutral spine, we're going to take our right hand, reach it forward. The thumb is going to be up. The elbow crease is right by the ear. And then taking the opposite legs, pressing it toward the back, flexing the foot so that the toes pointing down. This is spinal balance, keeping it as steady as we can. Looking down at the mat so that our neck is long, and then release that down. Other arm, the left arm's going to come forward, the right foot's going to come back. And then go ahead and release that down. And now walking your hands forward a bit, tucking the toes, coming up to a downward facing dog. So in down dog, you can separate your feet a little bit wider if you want, or keep them about hip width apart. But think about reaching the crown of the head toward the mat so that the shoulders are away from the ears. Go ahead and bend your legs and tilt your pelvis so that your hips are really reaching toward the ceiling. And now begin pedaling out your feet. This is stretching out the back of our legs. And now both heels lower toward the mat. And then rise up, lower, and rise. Now with your left toes, like your left heel's lifted high, take your right foot and reach it toward the ceiling. The foot is flexed. And now bending the knee and dropping that heel to the outside of the left hip. So we're strengthening the left hip, the hip that the leg that we're standing on, and we're opening the front side of the right hip. Go ahead and breathe. Now straighten that leg. Go ahead and rotate your hips so that they're parallel with the mat, and lower that foot to the mat. We're going to do the same thing with the left foot. So you're on your toes on the right side, flexing that left foot, bending at the knee, and then dropping the heel to the outside of the hip. Now straighten the foot, square the hips to the mat, and lower that down. Now we're going to float toward a plank, come back to our down dog, float to a plank, back to our down dog. And this time we're going to take that right foot and place it into pigeon pose. So in pigeon, that knee is in between the hands. Maybe walk the hands to the side a little bit, flexing that front foot, and then sliding the left leg back to where it's comfortable. And not going off to the side, one side or the other, but our hips are parallel and they're even to the mat. I'm going to come onto my fist because I have wrist issues. And so notice how you feel the stretch in the front side of the left hip, yet you're opening the side of the right hip. So think about lengthening, reaching up through the chest here. And now with an exhale, begin to walk out onto your forearms if you can. If not, just stay here. Or if you want to go even deeper, you can come all the way down. And we're going to count for 5 breaths. In and out through the nose. Now begin walking your hands back up, tucking that back toe, coming up, taking the leg back, pressing to downward facing dog. One more time, taking that right foot up, bending at the knee, and flexing, drawing that heel over, opening the front side of the hip. Straightening it out, squaring the hips to the mat, and lowering down. This time, left foot rises, flexing the foot, and coming on over. Straightening the leg, squaring the hips, placing that foot down. This time, the left knee is going to come under. We're going to slide the right leg back. That left foot is going to be flexed. That protects putting too much strain on the knee here. So starting up, I'm on my fists. And then when you're ready, taking it to your edge. If you feel pain, if you can't breathe deeply in the pose, that means you're gone too deep into the pose. If you can't relax the jaw, your jaw is clenched, that's another sign that you're taking the pose too deep. So find what works for you, what's comfortable for you, and settle in. And now walking the hands back up, tucking that back toe, coming and pressing back to downward facing dog. Now lowering both knees to the mat, bringing the toes together, taking the knees wide to the outer edge of the mat, and we're going to end our practice today in child's pose. So lowering down, if your child's pose is like this, if you're not able to get the hips to the heels, that's okay. Just breathing a few times here. With the inhale, imagine that the belly is drawing toward the mat, and the exhale, it's coming in. Softening the face. And walking the hands to the right side of the mat so that the left palm is placed on top of the right hand and lowering back down again. Walking it to the other side. Bring the hands back toward the center. And when you're ready, coming back up slowly, taking your legs out to the side for a nice seated position. Drawing hands overhead, pressing palms together. And I hope your hips feel a little bit more open on the front side. Have a blessed day.